Join Mark Lewis and R.O.A. for an exclusive interview with Bryan Bassett. Brain has over 40 years' experience as a recording artist and is known for his contribution with the legendary rock band Foghat.
Real rock and roll news. From the legends of rock, you found rockonamerica.live. We're bringing rock and roll to America and beyond. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
In a world brimming with music, one name stands out: Bryan Bassett. A recent Rock on America magazine interview sheds light on this music maestro's journey. Renowned for his work with Foghat, Bassett's story is one of passion, perseverance, and of course, rock and roll. From his early days, Bryan was drawn to the electric hum of the guitar. His dedication saw him rise from strumming chords in his garage to orchestrating riffs for Foghat, an iconic rock band. His innovative approach to music is what makes him a beacon in the industry. The interview reveals Bryan's unique perspective on music. He believes in the power of rock and roll to connect people, to make them feel alive. It's not just about the beats, the lyrics, or the melody. It's about the emotion it evokes, the memories it sparks. Bryan Bassett, a name that resonates with the spirit of rock and roll. A tale of one man's journey through the chords of life, echoing through the pages of Rock on America magazine. Tune in, turn up the volume, and let the music play.
This is Mark Rock over America magazine, and today I have the extreme pleasure of interviewing the third member of Foghat that I've interviewed. First of all, I interviewed Roger Earl and Charlie Hune, and now with me today is Bryan Bassett. For those of you that may not know about Bryan Bassett came into Foghat in '99 as the bass player, as the lead guitar and slide guitar player, took over for Rob Parissi. He had very, very big shoes to fill, which he's filled wonderfully. This was a very, very good decision on the part of the whole Foghat camp to bring this gentleman in. This gentleman has played with, among others, play that funky music lately. If you have not figured that out, I'll let him tell you who it is. And if I believe I have this right, Stevie Wonder and a whole ton of people. Without further ado, it's Bryan Bassett. How are you doing, Bryan?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Did I get the Stevie Wonder thing right?
Well, actually, we performed with Stevie Wonder. I never actually played his band or anything, but we just, when I was on Australia, it was just to play that funky music Bryan Bassett. And we got to play first big record and first single, and then professional music. We did a tour with the Jackson 5, one of their last tours of the band, and actually I had Stevie as the split guard, like Michael Jackson introduced me to there. It was a bunch of greatness there, but then I'll put that in.
Let everybody know as we start this off, you just give a couple of them. Give one of the other big ones that you've gone into besides like Wild Cherry, and then we're going to hold it for a few minutes. But what was one of the other big people that you really liked performing with?
Well, I did 7 or 8 years with Molly Hatchet, and that was a lot of fun as well. So we got great guitar array in the dance, so there's plenty of music for me to play there.
Okay, we're going to hold the rest of them because I'm going to ask you to give some of the other people you played with as well. Because like I said, I heard you when I started doing the work with Foghat, working with you guys going on 3 years ago. I started looking at the bios, and I'm like, okay, who's in here now? And I mean, your bio sheet is longer than most musicians. It's literally longer than, if I turn it out, it's longer than my left arm, just about. Beyond exactly.
I get pretty busy, though.
Yeah.
For about 15 years, after Wild Cherry and before joining, actually, I spent with Lonesome Dave, Foghat, from about 89 to 92. We had a band called Lonesome Dave Foghat, it was a solo band essentially. And that's how my introduction to the Foghat family. And but in between that time, I spent nearly 15 years as an engineer producer for Team 6 Studios, which was a blues for a record label and studio. And so I worked, well, we did literally, dozens of records a year, so I met quite a few great musicians doing that.
Can I get you to adjust something with the speaker on your phone, because I'm having a little trouble hearing you?
Okay, can you hear it now?
Okay, that's a little bit better, because it was coming through, but it was a little bit not as good as it is now.
Okay, I'll just put my hand around it, so I'll keep it there.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning with you. When you were growing up as a kid, what were you listening to? Who were your musical influences?
My early influence was definitely the British Invasion bands, but the other Stones, the Kings, the Beatles, and then some years later, that was got really into the British guitar players that came through John Mayall's band. You got Peter Green, Clapton, and then of course Jeff Beck, who's still my favorite guitarist.
Were you listening to Mayall when he had Clapton in the band too?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Looking back at one of my favorite albums, which is a compilation, but it has some Peter Green on it, some Clapton, and you can always pick their number. Taylor was another great blues guitarist as well, and so he had a fine ear for guitarists.
Can I ask you this one, because I always like to ask this, because I find this very interesting, because a lot of times people say yeah, sometimes they say not so much. The gentleman that came out in about 71 as one of the most prolific guitar players ever, Frank Marino?
Yes, I do remember Frank quite a bit. He was more into the more melodies. Was he Canadian?
He was French-Canadian, and he was the one that a journalist, and I interviewed Frank a few months ago, and he said this caused him nothing but hell in his career for a long time, but he was tagged as like the way the journalist put it, the spirit of Jimi Hendrix reincarnated and jumped into his body. Because he had that's a pretty big signature. Yeah, he just had that playing style that he was just way out there. So a lot of times the guitar player go, oh yeah, Marino was an influence too. That's what I always like to ask.
Oh yeah, he was. I think my style was pretty thoroughly established in the blues rock by that time, but I did certainly appreciate his artistry and that he's an exceptional guitarist. Yeah, but he didn't have a direct influence on me. I don't think because I can't. I've been playing for several years by the time I became aware of his playing.
Right, but you know what I'm saying, because that guy was always considered one of the great players of all time, so I like to put them just like Hendrix and people. And if I talk to newer metal guys, I ask them like Randy Rhoads and Yngwie Malmsteen and like Eddie Van Halen and that. So
sure, I had already been playing in club bands for almost a decade by the time when Van Halen came out. So my influences were more late 60s or 70s. Right. I was working, but just throwing it down yet, and we didn't really have a big record till 1976, but all the previous years, we slung it out in the clubs, and I probably my last direct influence I think was probably like Way Home and Johnny Winters and the American blues players.
Okay. What was the one or maybe the two things that stick out in your mind after all this time that you thought about and you're like, that's what I want to do, I'm going to be a guitar player, this is what I want to do with my life?
Well, I remember the Christmas, I think it was probably during the Ed Sullivan Black and White TV show, and I think everybody during that time, when the Beatles did everything, I was really a guitar for Christmas, was a little bit, but I remember getting my first guitar, and two of the records that I had early on were Beckola and Jeff Beck's Truth albums, and that was pretty much it for me. So I just remember that. I thought you heard, dozens of records before that, but those two really clicked on me for guitars.
Okay. And I'm going to do this now. Let's start with your career musically. Wild Cherry is basically the first big thing that you're in, correct? Hello? Hello?
That's correct.
Okay, I thought I lost you there.
Yeah, I'm going to my thing, so I must have muted it for a second. But yes, Wild Cherry was the first national thing that I was involved in. Okay. And a pretty good record right off the bat.
Yeah, play that funky music right away, boy. How do you go from being the more... Now, here's a question for you. Here, and this one, I'm sure a lot of people wonder, how do you go from being more of the blues-based influenced guitar player to what's basically considered kind of funky but disco?
Well, it was actually a very conscious decision on our part just to keep working as a club band. Right at that time, Casey came out, and the funk stuff was happening pretty hard, the Commodores, and we at the time were a cover band, we were doing discipline, Islam and all kinds of rock stuff. But, in order to work in Pittsburgh where I grew up, everything was converting into dance clubs, so we just sort of switched into the funk thing, and then we actually wrote a bunch of songs in that style to put their local jukeboxes, but record company picked up on playing that funk music, and it was less than a year later we were on national tour radio that broke pretty fast.
So Wild Cherry was actually like a rock band when they first started then.
Exactly, the song is actually very autobiographical. If someone actually did come up to us and they come up and say, they're playing from
because I don't think I've ever seen that anywhere in any press. And I remember when you guys came out, because I was born in '66. I remember when that was on the radio. I was listening to everything. That was around the time, a couple years later, after I started listening to Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that. But, you know, CKLW out of Windsor, Ontario would play that, and Bob Seger and a whole bunch of stuff, so I got exposed to that, and I remember when disco was taking off. But I don't think I've ever seen that story where that's actually, I mean, that makes a lot of sense now why the rock guy is playing disco, if you will.
Yeah, it was really just a matter of, you know, survival and the live club scene for us as a, you know, as a club band. You know, we had to switch musical styles and all the, you know, we were playing, you know, a lot of the top hits, and all of a sudden they started becoming like, you know, singing, you know, David Bowie, you know, we didn't do much KC stuff, we went more with the, you know, the funk stuff, and actually we tried to keep a rock edge to it, you know, where those two guitars, bass drums, so it was very guitar oriented. And I had little keyboards, but, you know, very little. And, yeah, so the trapeze was, you know, we liked trapeze, you know, which was sort of a rock thing, and then, family guitars like that, but, you know, but that was part of the church then, and that's what they had to play to do it, and we just happened to get a record on the original song.
Right, and then take us from where you go from Wild Cherry to, meeting Dave Peverett, Lonesome Dave, kind of some of the bands and the musicians that you'd work with.
Well, there was quite a long period of time between then. I was in Pittsburgh, and after Wild Cherry, I went back to Pittsburgh and had another rock band that was actually quite good for Molly Hatchet, and we tried to get a record deal for several years, and to the point where we were actually being produced by Felix Capolardi down at Criteria Studios in Miami at that time. When he was shot and killed, and so that put the kibosh on our first record deal.
Yeah, Felix was from Mountain, correct?
Correct. And he was a great record producer. You know, did some great stuff with Cream, and you know, did all the Mountain records. And he was a staff producer. He was a classically trained musician. You know, he was an arranger and an orchestrator, and a really good producer. You know, so we were really excited. Our manager at the time, you know, hired him to produce our demos, and you know, that came to fruition. And so we were in Miami then, after they went back to Pittsburgh, and my buddy and I stayed in Florida for about a year. Me and Gary Holman was our equal band. We go down there and play some songs, and during that period, that's when I got interested in recording engineering for the demo recorders. And went back to Pittsburgh for a while, nothing was happening there, so I came back down to Florida, and I met a guy named Bob Greener, who owned King Snake Records, and had a big blues band called the Midnight Reapers, who was like a 10-piece, so you know, the horn section, and it was a big band. I'm still quite good friends with most of the guys from that band, and we came together occasionally at around time. At that time, which was probably early 80s, started working at the studio as an engineer, session guitarist, and you know, that went on for literally 15 years. But during that period, the band went to Orlando, and Pat Gray was introduced us. Pat Gray was loved into one of my bands. I had a band called Little House too, with this work. And we did all old accelerated blues music and a lot of old music that they loved. So we got to be friends and started jamming, and we decided to tour again. He got to go out, and so how we met. And that was by that time. But in the interim, I had worked on literally hundreds of records through the studio with everybody from Lucas Thomas and Martin Peterson, Kenny Neal, guys that are pretty big in the blues. That big now we were gave them their first record deals. We had big blues women, you know, that came. We did Alex Taylor, who's James Taylor's older brother, and James did that, and we did James' younger brother record as well. And you know, just dozens and dozens of blues records that were released with all the different blues labels. We had Black Top, Lounder, Itchy Bond. So we were like a production house, and then the artist we couldn't get signed, we would play on our own label, and just got the involved in the blues recording. And then then Dave started pouring on it, and I put my time in between the studio and playing with Dave. And we went up there to probably 92, and we did that for about 4 years. And then right at BBS, there was Ruben, the great producer, Foghat reformed with other original members. Ronnie came out of retirement at that place. And that's when we recall Foghat got back together. And at the time, we had done some touring with Hatchet, and we did a big just finished video deal for them.
And Brian, I need to stop you because I need you to move your hand or whatever you're doing.
Okay,
Okay, it's a little bit better.
Yes, I'll back up a little bit. That brings us up to about 92 when the SBS and the group and the great producer Foghat reformed with all their original members, including R.O.A.M, who came out of retirement to do it. And we had just finished the European tour with Molly Hatchet, and they were looking for a guitarist. So I, lost my jump with Foghat and went over to Hatchet for about 7 or 8 years. And that went on to about 99, when Dave, the 90s, Dave had become ill and took some time off, but he had recovered. He wanted to tour, and I didn't want to go back onto the road, so I came back in 99 and have been telling it ever since.
Yeah, and Roger and I talked the whole story, and he was very gracious about it, because I told him, I didn't even want to talk about it unless he wanted to go there, and he talked the whole thing, and fortunately not long after that, I'm not going to go into this, but because it was, I think, painful enough for Roger to talk about it, but let's just say you can go find it if you want to online, but Roger passed away not too long after that either, which is a tragic passing as well, and I heard some other things too. It was just very, very rough on him, but that was a band that, when they started out, which I think kind of probably sets up for where you guys are at now. From about 71 to almost 1980, they just basically lived on the road.
They did. I think probably one of the highest show count touring bands in America during that period. They literally lived on the road. Between 100 and 200 shows a year, I would guess, all the time.
Yeah, and just, for 8.5 years, I think they probably set the record for hardest working band in the world.
That's for sure. Yeah, and that's established something that our music is sort of specialized. There's a blues rock band, we like to jam, we play well together, and so we're just carrying that tradition forward. We really love to play live.
So when you guys got basically the new version of everything formed, and Charlie came in somewhere around the same time that you did, and then Craig came back too. Of course, Craig was there back in about 75. He came in as the second bass player, so he what's kind of interesting about Foghat's lineup now, because I've had people ask me questions, is there anybody still original then? I go, oh yeah. You have Roger Earl, the original founding member, drummer, and then you have Craig McGregor, who was the second bass player. And so you have that. So basically, that's the classic part of the classic lineup. And then you have Charlie, who did work with among others Ted Nugent. So to play with Ted Nugent, the guy is just a perfectionist in one sense, not in a bad way, but to be able to be with Ted Nugent, you have to have something. And you, with your resume, I have said this, and Linda's asked me this. So what do you think? And I go, honestly, I think in some way it's different. I think in some ways Foghat now is better than Foghat back then, but for different reasons because of different people. I guess the best way to say this without disrespect to Lonesome Dave and to Rob Parissi is it's kind of like what happened with Van Halen. They had a different formula, and Sammy Hagar came in and just kind of was a little bit different but the same. Does that make sense?
It does, a lot of sense. And Ronnie and I, as replacements for lots of Dave and Rod, who were such a line share as part of the sound of the band, we are very meticulous and respectful about carrying their original parts the way they should be. We give due respect to their songbook and spend a lot of time, but we don't want the original songs to. When we're breaking about Foghat music, there's quite a lot of space in there for us to express ourselves and be ourselves. But by the same token, we respect the music and want to perform it for the fans properly. So that's it's a fine line to walk, but we enjoy playing with each other, which is really the core part of our band, is that we are a good band and we have a legacy that we respect, and we're just trying to add to it.
Let me try to say the same thing again this way. There's going to be no replacing the original lineup at all, period. It's impossible. Nobody could ever even get close. But with what Roger did by bringing you and Charlie and having Craig come back, I think as close as you can get to that without trying to copy that. In one sense, being that it's kind of a new chapter in Foghat. it's something that if you had to go back and pick up the band again with everything that happened with Dave and with the band since Dave and Rod had passed, if you had to do this over again and start from scratch, I think you'd have to go back and pick up the same pieces and pick up the same people. That's kind of what does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it does. I appreciate that. Thanks for looking at it that way this week. And we and Charlie, I think a lot like Rod did in the way he approaches music, and I know Charlie, I can see it. I play with Dave as well, so I can see the similar approach to rock and roll. The way that their stage presence, the way they play, their intensity. So different people, but same motivations and the same kind of musical sensibility. And that's sort of what keeps us going.
Yeah, Andy, your style is very, very similar, but has your own signature to Rod. So would you equate that to just all the blues background with all the different people like Jeff Beck you listen to, or?
Sure, every guitar player has their own sound. You can have one guitar, one amp, a room, and 20 guitar players, and everyone will sound totally different. So, no matter what, everybody has their own personal style. Especially if you've been playing many, many years. With that being said, coming from the same kind of roots, interest in blues, bass playing, and listening to the same similar artists, you absorb a lot of the same kind of musicality. And so I know Rod. We were roommates for some time, and I got to see him up close and personal, and talk to him his style. So he was a brightest live person, very difficult to cover, but I had the good fortune to work with him for a while, almost a year. He came out on the 20th anniversary there, and we played in a 5-piece. I agree with what you said. Something we try to carry on, play Foghat music the way it should be, and I don't know, even our new original material is not too far afield from what Dave was writing and what I was writing.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go with this next. And just before I do that, though, did you and Charlie, and also with Craig in the band, and with Roger, did you guys make a conscious or is it a subconscious decision to basically keep the same song going? Because basically, if you will, with the exception of the touches of you and Charlie and Craig being in there, where Chris is basically, like I said, doing the mid-70s and that too, at the height, but the first height anyway. Did you guys, was it a subconscious or a conscious decision to basically preserve the song? Because, for instance, I think the best example of this is when Van Halen changed singers and they put Sammy Hagar in. It was still Van Halen, but it was like a completely different band in one sense. The sound was very different. Everything was very, very different. Same thing with AC/DC in one sense until just recently. It was a very, very different direction. You guys didn't do that. It's so far.
It was pretty much more natural, but we did make a conscious effort to change our style into, being more Foghat-ish. We just played the way we played, and it was just more natural coming together of a band. And of course, when we learned all the old Foghat material, we tried really hard to replicate it the way it's supposed to be done. So that sort of puts you in a certain frame of mind. But it was very natural for Charlie and I to go with that style, because that's sort of our natural style,
Yeah, if I ask anything that's out of line or wrong or anything, like I told Roger, if anything gets too sensitive, tell me, okay? Well, you can just basically say family business and we'll just leave it there, okay?
Okay, no worries.
Let me ask you this, because, correct me if I'm wrong, the last couple things that you had out as new offerings were Live 2, and then you had Live at the Blues Warehouse, and actually the first real studio album in some time was Last Train Home, correct?
That's correct, right?
Okay, so live albums, are pretty easy. It's you guys are playing live. It just has to be the production quality has to be really good. So that's not as difficult. You guys just go do the best you can do when you're playing. Except when you hear the album, there are very, very few albums. Do you mind if I make mention of a couple other albums and throw this in there from other artists to kind of make points?
Sure.
Thorogood's live album from the 80s. When you see Thorogood live and you hear that album, it's the same thing. This is what you get. When you hear an album, it's what you get. Because some live albums, and I'm sure you know this, like most all of us do, there are bands that just do not sound good live. You can't make them sound good live. They just do not sound good live. But that album, the Thorogood did, some of the Mountain stuff, More recent times, and I'm drawing a blank on this, but there have been some recent live albums with some people too. There's been some very, very good albums, and then when you guys did this album, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. It shows exactly who you guys are. And then you did Live at the Blues Warehouse, which was in studio with a radio DJ for a program called Live at the Blues, called the Blues Warehouse. And that's where you guys got to kind of, it sounds like, just have some fun with it and just kind of play some things that you just wanted to play just at leisure.
And that was interesting because, we played live in the studio and it was broadcast live, and so there was absolutely no post-production on it. I mean, I mastered it, but I mean, there was a recorded live at 2 tracks, so there was, no editing involved, other than rethinking, thinking out some of that talking in between songs and moving stuff around. But that was truly, truly live, because I mean, there was no mixing afterward or anything. It was always on the spot by a live sound guy, and we were just happy with the way it turned out, so we did well, which, what I said, because we hadn't planned on releasing that, and we copy all it, liked it so much, we said, well, let's get this one out there,
You know what I like about that album? I've been able to take people who go Foghat, you like Foghat, and I'm like, okay, what songs have you heard? Well, I've heard Fool for the City and Slow Ride. I said, okay, that's a good start. Have you heard it? Oh, no. And it's one of these things where somebody hears the song and they're like, I'm like, have you heard the discography from the band? And they're like, no. And so I'll put that on and stuff like My Babe on there, where it's this long version of it, where it just has all the heart and soul and feel to it. And they're like, wow, this is Foghat. And I go, yeah, this is what I've known since I was a kid. This is Foghat. It's really, I think, a good representation of you guys at your core, and something very magical came out in that recording session.
And, what's funny, and the point you made earlier about George, and I think we're very similar approaches to music. I mean, when we go into a studio, we're not, making, a big major production. We basically try to capture the band in the studio the way we play live, so we're not, we do the same thing whether we're playing live or we're in the studio. We just play and record it, and George is the same way, it's just the way you are as a musician, and after playing for years and years live and having a lot of experience playing, your band, is kind of an ability to perform live, maybe better than some bands that don't tour as much, or, bands that are, say, younger or manufactured in the studio, so, we are live band first, and so we take that attitude to the studio, so we're not trying to trick ourselves, just go and set up and try to write some happy songs and record them, pretty much the way that they are.
Well, let me ask you this now, because we're going to cap off with this, and then we'll promote everything through all the social media network sites and everything, and I'll let you take us out of here with a couple comments. But when you guys recorded The Last Train Home and decided to go back and do the studio album, I mean, really, you really don't have to, in one sense, probably do an album anymore. What gave you the impetus to do another new album?
Really, it's for fun. It was a long-time project that we wanted to do a blues album, and we try to do something every winter when we have time off, and that was what we decided to do this year. And we just all picked blues songs that we want. We had a couple of originals written, and as we put it on, I think it's almost more for our own enjoyment than anything else. But I certainly like to keep getting new material out of our hands, and but really, the songs that sustain the band, of course, the musicians from the 70s, but we're creative musicians, and we like to do stuff, just to be creative. So really, that's about as deep as it gets, we enjoy playing together, we like recording, and, so we like to keep busy in the off-season, so we'll try doing something like that every year.
Yeah, so it was Eddie Kirkland down there, correct?
Yeah, what a great guy.
How did you guys hook up with him?
Well, he was good friends with the band back in the 70s, and he was in the early 70s. Foghat did a big blues benefit concert to benefit the New York City Library, and have them put a blues music wing on the library. And there was a concert in New York City too, and I was going to raise money for that. And then Muddy Waters was there, John Lee Hooker, all the band's favorites, including Eddie Kirkland. And at this late date, unfortunately, he was one of the last guys still around, and we just gave him a call, just almost like an anniversary kind of a thing, hey, let's do this again.
got the pleasure of seeing on Fremont Street last year that I had no idea who this was, and I had to go try to research him. And there's a little bit more about him on this album. Lefty Sugar Lips Lefkowitz. I'm going to let you tell the story because I don't have Roger here or Linda here to talk about it. I'll let you tell the story about Lefty because there's a whole story to him.
Well, there sure is, and actually he's been a long time friends with Lynn, back to high school days, and it's just basically a lifelong friend, and he's was a great harmonica player, had a music store and a harmonica company for a while, and just a big blues fan, and friend with the band forever. I've only known him 10 years, but this guy's known him for 40 years, so he's just a great guy, and whenever we did the blues album, we wanted to have some harmonica on there, and we had Earl come in, one of his brothers, who plays with Mongo Jerry, do some piano, just to get some more roots instruments in there, and change our sound up a little bit so the songs were covering.
And he was there on Fremont Street that night too.
Yeah, right. And we did right around that time. He had a touring around with us, and we'd bring him out to some songs, and we do some of the songs from the new album, and we'd bring out the plays, and he always gets represented. Once we do a big blues jam session, trade back on like sing guitar mixes, a lot of fun for us.
And Lefty is really like I'm trying to remember the guy's name offhand. The guy that was always considered the fifth Beatle. He's the fifth member of Foghat in one sense.
Yeah, he has been. Certainly has been for the last several years. He has to come out with us. Anytime we're near New York, he comes out, or we're going someplace cool, and his wife will fly out, and always put some songs in the set for the company to play. And he was on the Live of the Blues Warehouse album too. Was the idea to just introduce him to more and more fans? Yeah, that was. It was very close to where he lives, and we did it on Long Island. That's where he lives, and so we decided to come down to the studio to join the party and call him as well. And then we get some stuff there. And then for the new album, just to keep him out there so more and more people can find out who he is. Sure. What's that? And for the new album, the same thing as well, just so people can find out more about him. Oh yeah, well, the Last Train Home is our newest album, and it does feature Lefty on harmonica and Colin Earl on piano as well. So we're playing some favorite blues songs on there, some new originals, and you can pick up pretty much anywhere. Are they going to be doing some more dates with you guys for this tour coming up, which you guys are just ready to go on the road here in a few days? Sure, Lefty will be on some select dates. He doesn't tour with us all the time, but whenever it's convenient for him. And we just changed the set around to accommodate the songs that he plays on. Colin comes in occasionally, but he's busy over in England. He lives in England and has a band that's down over here performs quite a bit, so we have to get our hands on him a couple times a year. But as long as whenever he comes, we always throw up the piano and have the piano along. Got you. And do you mind just talking about the album for just a few minutes before we wrap this up? Because I want to get that. First of all, what is the creation process for you guys now as the new how do I want to put this respectfully? As the new chapter in the story of the Foghat story. This is a new chapter with you guys. It's been there for several years now. As you went to the studio to create this, what was the idea? Was it for Roger to lay down the track first, maybe a drum beat, or write some of the lyrics, or was it Charlie, or was it basically like a family together and each of you brought a part to the table? Right, it's more like the latter. We're more like a family. We get together for some get together and actually proceed the recording. We do a lot of rehearsing and fooling around first. And our songs come together pretty much as a group. Although something like Charlie brought in the guitar part from Last Train Home, and Born for the Road was something I was doing with the guitar, and Charlie lyrics to it, and Roger bringing some lyrical ideas and beats. So we just all get into a room and jam around and just sort of do it from a working craft kind of thing. Put the parts around, throw anything around, and then create it as a band. But the individual songs usually start with it's your own idea that somebody. Right, and
you mind going into the song? Do you want to go track by track on this, or do you just want to pick 3 or 4 of the favorite tracks? And if we do that, we'll take your favorite song, the band's favorite song as a whole, easiest one that just flowed easy to really create and just came out maybe a few minutes, and then the one that was most difficult to do if you want to do it that way.
Okay, well, obviously I'll have to try to get all those points with it. My favorite one was So Many Words. That was my first song covered by a great cover of it. It's John Mayall and Peter Green doing it. And that's the tempo and everything I like. So that as a cover song, that was one of my picks, one of my favorites. What I always wanted to do, not from a guitar standpoint, but it was listening in a song which has like a very difficult drum part, which then is a long song, and then another song embedded in the center of it. Usually drum. And so that was difficult from a stamina standpoint for us, and a playing standpoint, because it was a real tempo, and so that made the other was to roll on to pull off. Shake Your Money Maker, we got a real good take on that one. That's a song we always love playing. We enjoy it at the encores a lot, and so that was one of our favorites. And we got this one, the good recorded version of it, because we've done it live so many times. I really like Last Train Home, the original song, that we wrote. I think it's one of the best songs that we've come up with as a new unit. And we're working with it on 495 Boogie, which was actually recorded in Long Island at the end of the, some sessions that I did. That was a spontaneous jam. Colin just broke into it and we're like, hey man, let's get that done. And it was a straight up boogie piano instrumental. That's the one that's my popular song. Sometimes it gives them like that, those last moment thing before it was even planned on, and we just, jumped into it, jammed back the groove and recorded it, and it just, and it turned out really great, so that's on there, really excellent ones. Some of the slow blues stuff was some R2 Dave, there was some of that favorite songs to perform live, Hurts Me Too, and Louisiana Blues, Dave loved this song, and really this idea of a blues album was something that Dave always wanted to do. They never got around to it, unfortunately, but he could have made it, he could have been a great blues artist.
Do you mind if I make a comment, though? Last Train Home, that's one of my favorite songs for a couple different reasons off the album. One of them is it's a brand new song that has a signature Foghat sound to it, period.
I mean, it came up very naturally, Charlie has a riff that, like we were talking about before, writing styles and playing styles are, very similar to Rob and Dave, they kind of think so. And, that song just came out very naturally. We usually tell when we start playing something on Earth, it's a lot of things that flow away right away. But the ones that really feel natural with the band, a lot of sort of have that Foghat sound to them, and, maybe tell within 10 minutes whether an idea is going to go on the next day off.
Yeah. Do you mind if I can ask one last question? Okay. And the new album Last Train Home is very, very definite on this. Also, when you guys play, and everything that you guys have ever done in the discography, and not all bands can do this, but there are some bands that no matter what it is, the first couple of seconds you hear the song on the radio, go, I know who that is. That's Creedence, or that's First Server, or that's AC/DC. There's a good example. I mean, AC/DC can always tell from an AC/DC song. You can always tell a Foghat song, no matter what it was from 1971 through 2011. And, I don't know, and I don't know if it's just something that for some bands it just comes easier than others. But even now, even this new chapter is in the life of the band over the last 10 years, it's 11 years. It still has that sound, so that to this day, from the moment you walk into the concert hall, or the amphitheater, or the moment that you put on the record, and you put on the new record, any track on that album, even the Live at the Blues Warehouse, you can tell very distinctively. And one thing that I think is very, very clear on that is also, which I have to give you credit for, and I have to give Roger credit for finding you and getting you in the band, is you have the ability to take that guitar sound that is distinctly and only Foghat's guitar sound that Rod plays at, and you have that. And do you have any comments on that? Because it's just amazing you guys to this day always can tell it's a Foghat song.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you. It's the highest compliment that you can give me. But really, one thing that's always been consistent with Foghat music is Roger's drumming, and his drumming is very distinctive. He can play a shuffle, a rock shuffle, very difficult thing with a lot of drummers play the way he plays. And I think on one of the and Craig had such a distinct sound as a little section that it makes us guitar players on the top of them, sound even more. And in a lot of ways, it's his more drumming feel and sound and timbre of playing, that really stands out a lot. And he's certainly been there since day one. So I know when I hear AC/DC record, I can hear the drum beats right up the side. Here it goes AC/DC, So really the drum, Roger's drumming has, I think, a huge part of the consistency of my sound over the years.
But to mention AC/DC, the reason I brought that up, if you listen to For Those About to Rock or 70 for Jailbreak or something like that, when you hear that first one, especially For Those About to Rock, it's that lonesome and deep, dark and intense guitar solo that just starts.
Right, at the beginning of the monster guitar player is one of my favorites. And as, between him and the beats that they lay on, everything just, like you said, instantly, it was an AC/DC track.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
I think that's what I'm going to end this, that part of this so we can get into the promoting, and so you can get out of here too and spend some last time before you hit the road. But, I think that's what, personally, if I can throw my little comment in here for what it's worth, I think that's what makes you guys so special as a band, that you have that. And we both know that. Not everybody has that.
We just play together. That's what keeps us band together. I love our music, so it's really our friendship, and how to be good at playing with each other.
I'm going to let you do the pleasure this time of doing all the promotion for starting with the website, Facebook, and also if you'd like, you can we can bust Craig out here, and I'll take the blame for it about his Twitter thing.
Okay. Okay, from a commercial standpoint, it was album Last Train Home. Available on all the major download sites as well as Amazon.com, and again, that's itself, which is Foghat.net. That is the current band. We have a Foghat.com site, which is actually run by the Peverett estate, and it's more of a historical site, and culminates with all the years that Dave was in the band, and then Foghat.net is all our current activity. See us on Facebook, you'll be look us up, you'll find us. We have a really interesting contest running right now. We're taking a song Last Train Home and having fans submit photos for each one ride of the song, and then we're going to do a video, So we're going to take fan submissions to photographs and edit them all together, and have them represent the lyrics of the song. So that's a little fun thing we're doing right now, and you can get to that from our website and also through the Facebook page.
I didn't forget that, because I saw the thing from Linda. I didn't forget that, but I was hoping you were going to mention it. If you didn't, I was going to mention that.
Cool. Okay, that's, we're always looking, to do something fun and keep people interested in it, So that's one thing we're doing right now. So that's a really cool thing. There's some beautiful photographs on the first which is really cool.
And is there a band Twitter as well as Craig's? I think we should bust them out on this just to give them a little bit of business.
Pretty sure I know if I can get a Twitter account, so that you can search us on there. It'll be pretty good. Obviously, when you hit the right one. We do everything, like everybody else. We do MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and keep active on our website.
And I'm going to let you take us out of here when we're done. I just want you to hang on for a second because I want to say thank you again to talk for just a second. But at the end of this, what I like to do is give everybody a chance to say anything they'd like to. And I've had musicians say, I love you to spouses and the family. I've had a couple guys get very, very prophetic and just give these very, very big, long, prophetic words of wisdom. A lot of times it's just, I want to say thank you to the bands and, hi to the guys in the band and, hey, I want to say thank you to this person, that person. And there's no right or wrong on this, so I'm going to let you take us out of here.
All right. Well, I'll take up things like playing music is a wonderful endeavor. I appreciate the college level now. I'm working with some wonderful young kids. So, parents, let's encourage your children to pick up an instrument. I love you guys in the band, Roger, Craig, Charlie, love you guys. I don't know, something very, very personal to me is I lost my 18-year-old daughter this past year or two. to cystic fibrosis. So I'd like to encourage everyone listening to and checking out this interview to consider Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and their charitable giving. And other than that, I hope to see everybody this summer on tour.
And go ahead and for one last thing, give a couple of the next few dates that you got them off the top of your head too, just before we end.
Well, Sparks of That is coming up next, and I'll have to take a peek at my calendar right now.
Okay. Or they can find it on the website, correct?
Let's see if I have a signal. I can tell the dates.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
You're right?
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay, it's on my phone up. Okay. So we got Sparks of That coming up. Then you'll be seeing us at Erie, Pennsylvania. And then Toronto, Canada. And see if I can get a couple more out of you by turn here.
Okay. You gotta love technology. 10, 20 years ago, you could have never done this.
I know what it said. So now we're going to Oklahoma, and then Sandwich, Illinois, which is up near Chicago. Okay. Beautiful place. Topeka, Iowa. Warsaw, Indiana. Sioux City, Iowa. San Diego, California. Alameda, California. Arizona, California. So that's right at the end of the summer session.
And the rest of them are going to be on Foghat.net, correct?
Yep. Our touring schedule is on Foghat.net.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to say interview over.